Hi, kindergarten. This is Miss Richlick, and I'm back to finish our book that we were reading before called Be a Friend to Trees. Wow, I remember last time we read this book, it gave us a lot of information about trees. So let's see. What information did we learn from the text when we read on Monday? Yes, we learned that people and animals depend on trees for food. We also learned that animals get nuts from trees. We learned that wood comes from trees and that wood makes up a lot of things that we use, like paper, pencils, even our house might be made out of wood. Okay, so today we're going to finish reading. Remember, today, as we're reading, I want you to think about what is the main idea of this text, or what is the text mostly about? I also want you to be thinking about how do living things depend on trees to meet their needs. So we know all living things have lots of needs. They need food, air, and water. So how are the trees in the story helping the living things meet those needs? Let's keep reading. Many animals make their home in trees. Birds roost in trees. They build nests and raise their young in trees. Squirrels nest in trees. Have you ever seen a bird in a tree? Have you ever seen a squirrel in a tree? I have too. Monkeys live in trees. Some tree frogs spend their whole lives in trees without ever coming down. So these pages show and tell us about another way that animals depend on trees. We already know they depend on trees for food, but how else do animals depend on trees? Yes, the animals depend on trees for shelter or to find their homes. So we know that animals make homes in trees. Birds build nests. Squirrels live in the tree trunks. So when an animal makes a home somewhere, it's finding shelter. Shelter is like a home. Honeybees make hives in tree hollows. Many other insects also live in trees. So do small creatures such as spiders. Deer find shelter beneath the trees of forests and woodlands. They find safe places to hide their young. The roots of trees hold soil in place. They keep it from washing away in heavy rains or floods of water from melting snow. When soil is held in place, water sinks into it and it is stored in the ground. Let's look at that picture quick. Many people depend on water that is stored underground. They draw it to the surface through wells. So there's a label on this page. It says groundwater. So this is the water the trees are storing in the ground. And then this label says rain. So this page tells us that people depend on the water that the tree roots keep underground. We learned that people are living things, so we know they need water to survive, and a lot of people get their water from the water that collects under the roots of the tree. Trees do something else that is very important. It has to do with the air we breathe. Everybody take a deep breath. You just breathed air from trees. Let's find out how. Air is made of gases. One of them is oxygen. It is the gas that our body needs. Say oxygen. Yes, oxygen. We'll come back to that. Each time we breathe, we take oxygen out of the air, but the supply is never used up. The reason is that the trees and other green plants keep putting oxygen into the air. They give off the oxygen as they make their food. Trees make food in their leaves. The leaves can be broad like the ones you see on a maple tree. They can also be narrow and pointed like the needle-shaped leaves you see on a fir or pine tree. Here's the maple leaves. Here's the pine tree leaves. All these green leaves do the same work. They make food for the trees. To make food, leaves use water, which they take from the ground. Remember that groundwater we were talking about. They use a gas called carbon dioxide, which they take from the air. They use sunlight as energy. With energy from the sun, green leaves put the water and carbon dioxide together. They make a kind of sugar. The making of food by plants is called photosynthesis, a word that means putting together with light. Can you say photosynthesis? He can. That's a long word. Here's the process of photosynthesis. So we've got some labels to help us out. Let's read these. So this says leaves use sunlight for energy. Leaves get water from the soil, and carbon dioxide comes from the air. So these labels help us understand the process of photosynthesis. Trees need food just to stay alive. They also need new food for growth, to make new wood, leaves, twigs, fruit, and nuts. Some of a tree's food is used right away. Some is stored for future use. While making food, leaves also make oxygen that they don't need. They get rid of it by putting it into the air. Here we've got another diagram, which is a picture with labels telling us what's happening. So the sunlight goes into the leaves, the water goes up the stem, the carbon dioxide goes in the leaves, and the oxygen comes out. So oxygen is the air that people and animals breathe, and trees give us this oxygen. It's super important. So these pages tell and show us with words and pictures another way that humans and animals depend on trees to meet their needs. So what do they depend on trees for? Yes, they depend on trees for oxygen or the air we breathe. So we know living things need air to stay alive, and people and animals get that air from trees. Much of the oxygen that people and animals need come from trees. Without them, we might not be here at all. So trees are more than nice. They're something we can't live without. And that is why everyone should be a friend to trees. The end. Okay, that's our story for today. So what did we learn from the words, illustrations, and labels in this book? Yes, good job. We learned that people and animals depend on trees for shelter, air, water, and food. Great thinking, kindergarten. One more. What is the main point or overall idea of this text? That means, what is the main idea of this text? Great job. The main idea of the text is that people and animals depend on trees for many things. Wow, kindergarten, we did such an awesome job listening and answering questions today. I'm so proud of you. So, hopefully, over this coming spring break, even though Miss Richlick's not going to be doing videos, you're still reading at home. So keep up the good work. Remember to read a book with someone in your family every single day. All right, I love you. Have an awesome spring break. Enjoy your time off and stay safe.